All right, so the jersey is on. Okay, so what does that mean? We got a Jet victory. Before I get into the post-game breakdown, just gotta say, man, there's a lot to talk about in this video. It's only week 2, but a lot of stuff after this game. A lot of stuff going on. So let me just take a look at what we got going on here, and I just want to touch on a bunch of things here. So, why don't we start with, let's start with the early part of this game, all right? And like I said, there's a whole, I probably have it listed on the screen right now of all the stuff I want to talk about. But why don't we start with the early part of this game, all right? Listen, a win is a win, and I will take a win on any day, all right? But in my opinion, this was not a pretty win, but it was a win that got better over the course of the game. I will say that. But in the beginning part of this game, the Titans had the momentum, okay? And listen, if it wasn't for Levis with those blunders, those back-to-back turnovers, all right, this game could have been 21-0. All right, so he kind of gave the Jets the footing and the momentum to turn their game around. And listen, thank God, for once, the Jets were on the other side of that blunder, okay? And we benefited from it, all right? That was a really bad play where he tried to lateral it, gave us the ball, and then, he had the interception, another bad play. He just threw it up, and the Jets got it. That, to me, that turned the whole game around, and that's what really gave the Jets their momentum and the ability to win this game out, ultimately. So, but the Jets did have some good stuff. Again, they started out, I was like, what's wrong with the defense? But it all seemed to start coming together a little bit more, a little better than last week. So let's talk about, again, a win is a win. And, Saleh at the end of the game, he was in the locker room and he was like, this was a great win. And listen, let's not get carried away, all right? It was a good win, all right? Any win is a good win, okay? Was this a great win? Listen, if Levis didn't give us the momentum, it might have been a different story here, okay? So let's just take a step back and not get too fucking carried away here, all right? It was a good win, all right? And because a win is always a good win. But, listen, again, all right? Let's thank Levis here as well for breaking the Titan momentum and giving it to us, because that is a reality in this game. All right. Once we did start to get the momentum, though, some nice stuff developed out of this game, and there was some unfortunate things as well. We'll get to that in a bit, and you know what I'm talking about with that, with Jermaine Johnson. So we'll touch on that in a little bit. But what really came out of this game that I thought was great was two things. You had Braelon Allen had a completely ass-kicking game, 2 touchdowns, and man, he really showed up. Rookie, right? He was drafted this year, and I liked that pick when they did pick him. Once I understood where they were going with those picks, with those running back picks, but he's a different type of a running back. He's bigger, he's fast. You saw it. He showed up big in this game. He made a statement. So that was awesome in this game. Brees had that unbelievable catch in the end zone for a touchdown. It was a great throw by Rodgers. Rodgers looked good once again, in my opinion. But that was a beautiful catch by Brees Hall in the end zone. Brees Hall, I said it last week. I said he will have a better game because that guy will just continue to get better. All right? And he's a dude who learns from his mistakes and he gets better. I believe Garrett Wilson is the same way. So you had Braelon Allen with a breakout game. You had Brees Hall with a beautiful touchdown catch in the end zone. Okay, beautiful throw. So you had some really good things in this game. So now let's just talk about quickly the Jermaine Johnson situation. This was unfortunate, and this changes things for the season. Okay, Jermaine Johnson, he was that another one. He's from that draft, and he's another one of these guys who he just wants to get great, and he was getting better every year. And he was supposed to have a really good season this year. I think he would have. Unfortunate. Looks like an Achilles injury, season-ending injury. So, listen, that's only going to make this guy stronger. It's unfortunate. Feel bad for the guy. And at the same time, that hurts the Jets, okay? Because you got Reddick holding out, which is now an interesting situation for this team, because now with Jermaine Johnson down for the season, do the Jets reposition themselves with their stance with Reddick? I don't know what kind of character this guy has. Him holding out like this is, to me, that's a hit on this guy's character. So do you cave in and give this guy a long-term deal if his character is in question? So that's my whole thing with Reddick. Again, I don't know the guy. I don't know what type of character he has, but his, actions show things, and the way he's handling this, or has handled this whole holdout situation, demanding a trade, all that shit. Do you want the guy on the team? Maybe you trade him for a different type of a pass rusher with a better character, or maybe he does have a good character, and he's just holding out, in a very hard-edged way. I don't know, but here's the situation with Jermaine Johnson down. We need a pass rusher, which will bring me to Will McDonald in a second. Another bright spot in this game, but. What do you do here now? Do you sign the guy? Do you bring him aboard? All I'm going to say is this: if they do sign him, I don't know what they're going to do. Will it be a one-year deal? He wants a long-term thing. I don't know. So, but that's now a factor. All right, Jermaine Johnson goes down, who is arguably the best pass rusher on the team. Defensive end, right? You gotta replace him in a way. Now, Will McDonald steps up big in this game. Another very big, excellent bright spot in this game. 3 sacks for this guy. You love to see that. Second year. All right. Whenever I think of this guy, I think of the video or the footage where he's jumping over cars before he was drafted. It was part of his Instagram or whatever he had it on, man. He's athletic, this guy. But it's good to see it transferring to the field and him showing up with 3 sacks. He had that 1 sack at the end of the game. That was huge, too. All right, so Jermaine Johnson goes down. Will McDonald steps up and has a big game. So another bright spot in this game. So you have the running backs. You have Will McDonald. You had another good game by Rodgers, in my opinion. Garrett Wilson had some nice catches, as always. So you had a block punt in this game as well. The defense seemed to find themselves a little bit after that first. At the start of the game was a little rough for this team, I think. But once they got the momentum, it's like they found their footing and started to come on. But again, listen, let's thank Levis here for giving us that momentum, because like I said, this game looked like it was starting to get ugly. The momentum was, all Titans in the beginning of this game. But no complaints with a win, no complaints with a victory. It is what it is, man. It's a victory. So, and that's the way shit rolls, all right? How many times do the Jets fucking give the momentum to the other team? So it was nice for the Jets for once to have that swing our way, and they took advantage of it. They started to build their own momentum, and they got the victory. So what else? Let's see. Give me a second here. Man, that's pretty much covered everything I wanted to kind of talk about here, man. It was the running backs, Will McDonald. We talked about Jermaine and Reddick. So I thought this would be cool because there was a couple of other things that happened this week, in the league in week 2. So I thought it would be cool maybe if in these post videos if I start to recap some other shit that I think is noteworthy, I should say, right? So let's just go down the list of what went down in week 2. All right, you had the Buffalo Miami game on Thursday night, right? That helps the Jets automatically no matter what, because one of them suffers a loss. They are division rivals. Buffalo took the victory, all right, and Tua got hurt again. So that dude, I don't know, should that guy retire? Health is more important than the game, right? But okay, so the Dolphins, they suffer a loss and they suffer the Tua injury. All right, so but that helps the Jets because, like I said, one of the AFC East rivals gets a loss. This was huge, in my opinion. I couldn't believe this happened. The Raiders beating the Ravens in Baltimore. All right, that was, to me, that's the upset of the day. That probably knocked out everyone in suicide pools. The Panthers, I think they're on their way to getting the first pick in the draft next year. The Saints blowing out the Cowboys. That's 2 weeks in a row that the Saints, I think they had a blowout win last week too. They are red hot. Derek Carr, listen, I've said it in many videos. That's who the Jets should have really went after, him or Mayfield. And look at both of them now. But they went with Rodgers, so it's Rodgers or bust at this point. The Buccaneers beating the Lions. That is impressive as well, Mayfield. All right. So we're going to talk about three. We're going to talk about 3 quarterbacks, in my opinion, that are related to the Jets in some way. 2, theoretically, like I said, I wanted either Carr or Mayfield. They didn't even really go after those guys. They went after Rodgers, like I said. But and then we're going to get to another one. Actually, 2 more. We already talked about 2. Let's get to it. All right. The Vikings beating San Francisco. How did they beat them? With another good game from Darnold. Listen, what are you gonna say here? This guy, two really good weeks from Darnold, with this week beating San Francisco. So hey, good for him. When he was here, we had no team around him at all. I believe Gase was here. Come on. So, but it doesn't figure, like, listen, now the guy is starting to emerge, but we'll see. It's Donald. We'll see what happens for the rest of the season with this guy. But he's off to a really good start. Then you had another ex-Jet quarterback, okay? Geno Smith beating the Patriots. So Geno does the Jets a favor. Another ex-Jet quarterback who has really found himself and gave himself a second life in this league. But that definitely, of course, helps the Jets beating the Patriots. And the Patriots are coming up very soon, Thursday night. So what else? Giants lost. What else is new with them? The Cardinals, Harrison, I believe, had a good game. Steelers are 2-0. Chiefs barely beating the Bengals. Bengals always just seem to get off to a bad start. And then you had the game last night. You had the Texans' bad game. Texans are 2-0. And then you had the Bears, the Bears quarterback, Khalid Williams, right? He's struggling a little bit, but I have a feeling he's going to be good. I don't think he'll be a bust. It doesn't feel like, but because he's competitive, but he's struggling in his debut. But you know who's surprising me is I think it's Jaden Daniels, right, on Washington. He looks good to me. So, interesting. So I thought that was cool, right? I might start doing that in these post videos. I might start these post game videos. I might start just, recapping a little bit of the rest of the league as well, because it all applies to the Jets in some way, right? So that's it, man. Overall, win is a win. All right. So I said it last week. I said this was a win that the Jets had to have. It was a game that they should win, right? And I was starting to get seriously nervous about that. I was like, I'm going to put my foot in my mouth 2 weeks in a row here, because it looked like the Titans were going to take this game early. But like I said, they had the momentum switch, and they kind of gave the Jets a lot of momentum, I think. So overall, right? Like I said, a win is a win. So what do we got coming up? We got the Patriots coming up on Thursday night, and I'll probably do I got to do that video today because it's already it's only a couple days away, but that's the home opener, okay, Thursday night. So that's it, man. I think that's a wrap. Let me just double check, but I don't think there's anything else. Maybe one last thing here, because I have a little note here that says, look at all the injuries. And that's not just the Jets. It's like, it seems to be like, around the league, man, league-wide, why so many injuries, man? Maybe because, these teams are not practicing the proper way in training camp. Like, that's all about, again, I went off on this last week. That's all about conditioning, man. Like, I'm not just talking about let's get prepared mentally with the playbook and let's just like walk through plays or lightly practice through plays, or listen, there's got to be a part of training camp where it's like a boot camp for these guys. Like, you got to get these fucking guys in shape, man. I'm talking league-wide now, all right? Because there just seems to be a lot of injuries happening, and you see it more and more every year, all right? And they all the players are like, we have hardcore training camps. Listen, I don't think these training camps are what they used to be, all right? So, again, let's, not for nothing, listen, any injury is unfortunate, and Jermaine Johnson's injury is unfortunate. And Jermaine Johnson doesn't look like the type of guy who isn't going to try and really be in good shape, and do everything he can to be in shape. And I'm sure he was in shape, all right? But to me, an Achilles injury, that to me is like a stretch injury. Like, were you stretched enough properly? Did you stretch out enough properly? Are you, and again, to me, these teams have conditioning coaches, and stretching is a big part of conditioning as well. So again, I'm not blaming the players as much as I'm blaming the coaching when it comes to conditioning. You have a head coach, and then you have a conditioning coach, right? I believe these teams have conditioning coaches. So I don't know what's up, like I said. But there's a lot of injuries happening, okay? Way more than I can ever remember happening in the season. To me, training camp, okay, and preseason, all that shit, that's where that to me is where if you're going to pull a muscle or you're going to get some aches and pains, or like, that's what that shit's about. So this way, when the season gets here, man, you're in shape. You have all of the little aches and pains and muscle pulls, or all that shit is now, you got that out of the way. and now you are in shape. The reason why you get that shit in training camp is because now you're getting into shape, and by the time the season gets here, you're in shape. Okay, that shit should not be starting when the season starts. So again, I'm not blaming it on the players. I'm blaming it on the coaching situation, and it's not just the Jets. I think it's league wide. And again, I did say this as well. Maybe the players do have a little too much say as well. Because today's players, man, they're not like yesterday's players. Where today's players, they're a little bit more. I don't know how you want to describe them, but a lot of them are. I think they're feeling a little bit more entitled than the old school players. You know what I'm saying? And maybe, like I said, maybe some hardcore old school training camps need to come back into play. And if the players of today are going to cry and whine about it, then too bad, man. Then go work at fucking 7-Eleven. You know what I'm saying? Then you're a professional football player. You're getting paid extremely well. A hardcore training camp is in order, man. It's part of what you need to do. All right. A.gain, look, I'm not on the field. I'm not in these training camps, so I don't really know. All I know is, when a team doesn't look like they're in shape, or when you're seeing injury after injury after injury, something's going on, man. I don't remember it being like that back in the day, because back in the day, these teams used to really train a lot harder in training camps, I think, to the point to where I think they actually said, hey, you got to ease up on these fucking guys. But you know what? Back then, they weren't falling like dominoes when the season started either. So there's something to be said about that as well. And again, if I was a head coach, I would, conditioning, man, just, running, getting into shape, man, sprints, forget about the X's and O's, man, just get into shape, stretching, big time stretching every day in practice, man, like really, like I said, get into shape. So get your body ready for game speed. You know what I'm saying? Regular season speed. Be as prepared as you can with conditioning. So, all right, that's enough. All right, I spent 2 weeks talking about conditioning. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I don't want to talk about it anymore. But that's where I feel all that shit is at. All right? So, again, Patriots coming up. Look for the video for the Patriots Thursday night. I was just about to get into that, but I will get into that with the pregame prediction video for the Patriots, all right? It's a Jet victory over the Titans. Like I said, a win we needed, a win we should have gotten, and we got it. So you got to love it.